Betsy and Thomas here for the American Intelligence Media. We're going to be decoding some Trump tweets before we get started. We've had a few complaints from folks that say that when we just put up the single image, their devices freeze because I guess they can't detect that there is a video going on, which there's not because we just use a stationary picture. So we're going to be starting to put just tiny little bits and pieces throughout the audio that have just a little bit of movement. Don't be concerned. It's not going to be some hidden message, and you don't need to look at your screen because we're not going to put anything relevant. We'll just break it up a little bit and put some motion because apparently that works, and we do want you to be able to access our material. Also, if any of you find media creators that take our audios and put their own pictures on them, please feel free to share it with our community because that makes it even better. So now we're going to get started with Thomas, who is a former cryptologist with the NSA, and now he is the master Trump tweet decoders because to date, no one that I have seen has been able to outdo Thomas in his ability to decode these tweets. So before we start, did you check the trip code, and are we still reading the real Donald Trump?
This is the real Donald Trump. These are the true Trump tweets, the Trump drops, which make the Q drops look like a lemon drop.
Okay. So again, if you look at the description box below, you'll see a link that will take you right to the tweets where you can follow along. June 18th, 9:57 a.m. If President Obama, who got nowhere with North Korea and would have had to go to war with many millions of people being killed, had gotten along with North Korea and made the initial steps towards a deal that I have, the fake news would have named him a national hero. Well, the fake news already named him a national hero, and he did diddly squat.
And the Nobel Peace Prize named him a real harbinger of peace when he bombed 7 nations, and Hillary would have bombed North Korea, and Syria would have bombed Damascus.
So that's a fake peace prize?
It's a fake peace prize. It should be given back. He dropped over 100,000 bombs. You can add it up. In his last year, 26,000 bombs. He bombed on the last day he was in office, Yemen. And then the second they get out of office and his administration is gone, they accuse Trump of doing horrible things in Yemen. They're the ones who started all this. They're the ones who invited the Iranians in. They're the ones who gave them the money. They gave the Iranians the money to make the missiles to send to Yemen. Anyway, the point is that North Korea... millions of people. Remember, Obama killed millions of people. I don't know why I'm about the only person I hear saying that. 2 million confirmed people from his bombing. There were no wars. Congress did not approve of any of that. And it was sheer insanity.
Well, who did he order to do it?
The military, because he's the commander-in-chief and you can't stop him from what he creates, or what are called alliances, or he gets Britain or somebody else to say, yeah, I'm in on that. They don't do anything. We do whatever we want. We bomb anybody we want. That's what Obama did.
But the British government...
Bomber.
Yeah, but the British government really isn't our friend because now we have found out that when you start digging through the Spygate, we go back to the British intelligence that really was at the heart of the Spygate situation.
Oh, completely. Totally came right out of Britain. Plus, look at the bomb. Look at Syria. That's intelligence from Britain, and we've demonstrated that before. I can go into it again, but it gets kind of boring. Just realize that Britain gives us false intelligence so that we bomb. That's what the gas attacks were about. What did Trump do? First time, he went for it to show the world he's going to bomb anybody he wants. Remember, Assad created ISIL, and supported Al-Qaeda, and his father was a rogue CIA crazy man who massacred an entire city at one point. Every inhabitant of what was it, Hama or Hama? I think it was Hama. Murdered all of them. That's the way that his father was. That's the way he is. Nobody wants to see who Assad really is. And don't get me started on that, because right now the Iranians, the Russians are not working together in Syria. They told the Iranians, pull away from the Golan Heights, pull away from the southern border of Syria. They gave them the order. They didn't. Now Israel's going to just pummel that area, and it's going to continue. So literally Russia is now in a war against Iran. Now let's remember, where did Iran get those missiles when they did buy them, when Obama gave them $5.7 billion? From Russia. These are their own missiles. Russia is telling Iran not to shoot Russian missiles at Israel, which they've already done. They've already shot 30 of these very powerful missiles. Fortunately, all of them were intercepted. That's what would be going on right now with Hillary in North Korea. Fed him $4.5 billion to create these nuclear weapons and missiles. That's what Obama and his predecessors did. And that's what Hillary would have continued to do. She's told us she would not have spoken to him. She would have just let this escalate. And the second that anybody would have attacked or done anything against North Korea, he would have completely annihilated Seoul, Korea. That's millions of people. One bomb dropped on North Korea would have annihilated millions of people in South Korea. That's a given. But that's what would have happened. And what would they say? If Obama would have created peace somewhere, national hero, what would they give him? What's above the Nobel Peace Prize? They would have made him the king of America. But when Trump does
that's what they intended to do. They had a place all picked out for him in the UN. That's, of course, my opinion. Right now, I don't have anything to substantially offer to that conversation, but it looks like that's what it was going to be. Hillary was going to be the president of the United States, and Barack Obama was going to be the president of the United Nations.
You are so right, Betsy. People forget that Obama, first time in history, demanded to be the head of the UN Security Council. In other words, the head of the world, because he is the military arm of the UN. So he became literally, he did during his own administration. And yes, he had intention of taking over the UN completely if it had gone into total New World Order, the globalism that it intends to do in all of the things that it puts out. He signed 5 separate treaties that have never been ratified in Congress that have caused things to happen that are unprecedented. UN equipment in America, taking over American cities, all kinds of things.
Okay, I know we could spend all day on that.
Whew.
Okay, next tweet, and this is a big one. Comey gave Strzok his marching orders. Mueller is Comey's best friend. Witch hunt.
You see, isn't that beautiful? In that one little phrase. Is anybody saying that crazy Peter Strzok should be locked up because he's the worst FBI agent in American history? They're all saying that, but they're not locking him up.
But he's still got a job in the HR department.
He's still working.
I mean, come on.
And no one has yet to say that Comey, of course, had to approve every single thing that McCabe and Strzok and Bill Priestap and Michael Steinbach and Joseph Giacalone and the whole group. There's no getting out of this. This is Comey. Those are his subordinates. We see in the text messages, and by the way, there's still 30,000 missing, and those are the juicy ones. There's even text messages missing between the text messages because those are the juicy ones. And when the juicy ones come out, they're enough to convict the whole group.
Well, since we now know that some of the unredacted ones actually had to do with some of their planning of this treasonous act, then we need to see all of them. And I think Americans can handle any kind of sex talk that was going on between Peter Strzok and Lisa.
The 55,000 only go up to about, I think, September or October, something like that. They end when the real battle began. Oh, they're just missing. Oh, and 30,000 of them are still missing. And they're unredacted. And all personal remarks, their love remarks, their sex texting, all gone. All attachments, all gone. All agents' names, all gone. And all SES members. Specifically, it states, all SES members must be removed from all Strzok and Page text messages.
Now, why in the world would they want to strike out the senior executive service members' names in these?
They're the guilty parties.
Yes.
In every case. And every time we name one of these people, we're going to tell you the guiltiest ones are all SES. That's why their names don't appear. But the second part, so that's, okay, this is what no one is pointing out. Comey is responsible for his subordinates. We know his subordinates committed many crimes and a conspiracy, and to try to put it on, which I told you would happen from the beginning, the lieutenant, the second in charge, or the lieutenant, the crazy lieutenant like Oliver North, who then comes before Congress and says, yeah, I committed crimes, and then he goes out and becomes a news agent consultant. Writes books, gets his own show.
Yeah, but that's because the media is all part of the CIA and the cabal and the whole bit. So, of course, they get jobs with the media because they're all one big pot of globalists.
Peter Strzok will soon be a political analyst for CNN, even before his case goes to That's the way it works. Clapper's a criminal. He's one. Brennan's a criminal. He's one. That's the way that it works.
Well, I saw Donna Brazile on The Five, that fake Fox News program, and she's being interviewed by what's his name, Jesse Waterman, Waters.
Waters World.
We call him Water Wings because he never does any deep diving. But the thing is you hear them asking her questions about immigration when the real questions that should be asked are not being asked.
Her criminal activities, $84 million stolen from the states, funneled to the Hillary victory. The Podesta, Hillary, Brazile, Donna, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the whole gang, they conspired with fusion. They conspired with foreign nations. The crimes that Donna Brazile has committed are huge. And they're obvious. She came out and told us what they were in her book. She admits the crimes.
I didn't mean to get off on that, but the thing is, she's all dolled up sitting on the show like she is doing a preview of what it's going to be like if she gets on the show. So I'm just saying these news shows they never take you to full truth. So they will never tell you about Mueller and Comey's very special relationship.
Those shows are places for them to come and air their alibis.
Well, what is about this special relationship that Comey and Mueller have?
Mueller and Comey have been together since the late 70s, committing crimes, stealing patents, covering for presidents, being the head back and forth like musical chairs between the FBI,
covering
the DOJ.
Up the murder of American citizens on 9/11?
Oh, are you kidding? He was the head of the FBI. Even before 9/11, he said he had appendicitis and he was at home for 2 weeks before and didn't come to the job until after 9/11.
No,
well, we know that he was actually working quite actively. He certainly did not have appendicitis. And he saw Tower 7 free fall, first steel reinforced building in the world that fell from a fire in free fall. A fire cannot cause that. It can't cause Building 7, and it can't cause either World Trade Center. He covered it up completely. He is a criminal. And Comey was involved at the time,
too. But the media did, too, because the media never went deeper to find out why that wasn't investigated properly. So the media is complicit. So when you're being, quote-unquote, red-pilled, it's, blame the media. In fact, I think we ought to get a national lawsuit together to blame the media for not doing what they said they were going to do and give us truth.
Mueller is the teacher of Comey. Comey is his apprentice. Mueller comes in, gets fixed positions in the Department of Justice, learns how to twist the law, and then goes out to help corporations and hedge funds and large banks that are backed by the CIA, like HSBC, where they both worked, like the Mellon Optima Fund, like Bridgewater, like Lockheed Intelligence, like Lockheed. These guys are twins. Comey has followed in the footsteps of Mueller. They could not be any closer. Who did Comey go to before he had to testify after he purposefully leaked the material, which should put him in jail, and he's not in jail, to his friend in the New York Times, which had been an established, institutionalized leak, probably hundreds. Nothing happens. Why? Because Mueller's not even investigating Comey. But wait a second. Russian collusion? Comey allowed the Russian collusion. He allowed the dossier. He signed off on FISA warrants saying the dossier, which was a Russian-produced piece of garbage, but still it was Russians, Brits, Ukrainians, Estonians, Romanians, all working against the U.S. election, and yet Mueller does nothing with Comey. I assume he's been given complete immunity. But the point is it's a witch hunt, and Trump is not a witch, and he's going to pass all the witch tests, and the inquisitors in the end are going to have inquisitors come after them.
Yeah, I think you ought to lead the charge because you seem to be so knowledgeable about all of this. Now, the next tweet it looks like it's a quote from Inspector General Horowitz. The punctuation isn't there placed. And by the way, I know English teachers out there in mainstream America are absolutely flipped over the misspellings, the punctuation marks in these tweets, but you just need to get over it. This is what happens on Twitter. All right, I can't think of something more concerning than a law enforcement officer suggesting that they are going to use their powers to affect an election, close quote. Inspector General Horowitz on what was going on with numerous people regarding my election. A rigged witch hunt, and ends with a magical single letter, P. Is that, maybe it's like there was once Q, and now we're going to have P. No,
Yes.
that would be before.
Well, there was. Before Q, there was P, psi, P-S-I.
Uh-huh.
And before that, there was the R.
Or is the new Cicada 3301 puzzle, isn't that coming up soon?
There's going to be a new one. Yes, the Cicada, you're going to be working with them and releasing it on Truth News Headlines. And look to the glass bead game, and you'll see some amazing connections between Cicada and the glass bead game. But the point is yes, before Q, they were doing it in order of the alphabet. And so there was a P, and there's going to be an R. And this P at the end probably stands for POTUS, or I think it stands for prosecute.
Okay, that's good. Well,
Prosecute.
Let's get to the tweet.
Now, make sure to put the first quote on here, and don't attribute Trump with misspelling there. It's supposed to be spelled THEY''re. He didn't write that. And I love it when they say he can't spell and he's quoting somebody and it's in quotes, and people criticize him for that. It just cracks me up. Anyway, the Inspector General basically said this horrible thing. A law enforcement officer that is basically stating clearly his intent, willfulness, and actions to disrupt a U.S. presidential election.
But he didn't have political bias, they say.
That's incorrect, because they said horrible things about Trump over and over again, and they never said, they just always criticized Trump. Plus, we don't have 30,000 of the tweets, text messages between Page and Strzok. And when we see those, we'll see the real damnable ones. We'll see the names of the real people. Plus, once they're unredacted, remember, they didn't redact the SES names. They removed all sentences with them in it. I want to make this perfectly clear. That's what Stephen Boyd's letter said to the Congress. When they asked for those text messages, they said that they had redacted them, but they also simply removed the names of any agents and any SES members, any personal remarks between them, and any attachments. In other words, they are garbage, and yet that is enough garbage to sink the whole conspiracy. Comey and Strzok, don't think that Strzok just worked for Bill Precept. He's trying to say he didn't know. He's trying to say, and let's remember, don't try to say that Andrew McCabe wasn't in the line of command because he was Lisa Page, and he and Lisa Page
You were suggesting that the other day, that
met
perhaps
on many private occasions,
yes, that McCabe
to pass top secret information.
Nobody's going to know what your uh-uhs mean.
I'm not
the
saying
bottom
it.
line is you're suggesting that McCabe was also having a relationship with Lisa Page, and she's sort of like a prostitute, but for the DOJ.
She absolutely had a private relationship with McCabe and met with him repeatedly to give him top secret information on the what they call the mid-year exam, or the Hillary email scam, the matter, the non-investigation where Hillary's name was never mentioned because she was never investigated. Now, that means they never looked at a single text. They never looked at a single communication. There was no investigation, and the Anthony Weiner laptop proves that, the way that Andrew McCabe handled that. But remember, Andrew McCabe wasn't part of the Bill Precept and Michael Steinbeck. They're now saying that. But remember, Michael Steinbeck and Joseph Giacalone quit because of the illegal activities going on in a counterintelligence operation against candidate Trump. So Bill Precept's bosses both quit.
Well, isn't there something that these people at the FBI, and I hear all the time, the people at the FBI, the rank and file, are really good. I say absolutely not. If the rank and file can't even find crime under their own roof and do something about it, then they're complicit with what's going on. I think the FBI needs to be shut down totally, and if it's going to start and make sure everybody's getting security clearances, especially the senior executive service, because we've shown you before that these people were brought on, and many of them, a lot of them, didn't even do proper background checks.
Now, I want to point something out. Andrew McCabe is married. Lisa Page is married. Peter Strzok is married. Of course, Andrew McCabe knew what was going on with her and Peter Strzok, because they were having secret rendezvous where the top secret information that was being pilfered because she was in on all of those because she was Peter Strzok's girlfriend and he didn't go anywhere without her. 55,000 messages is the tip of the iceberg, folks. There are like 8 months missing on one of their sides and 16 months missing they're investigating that are missing. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of messages probably missing.
Yes,
and we don't have McCabe's messages, and we don't have Comey's messages, and we don't have anybody's messages. No, the Inspector General should be taken out and prosecuted for his pathetic
But that's what his
attempts.
job is.
I know.
His job
I know
is
that.
to limit the damage. So if he has you focused in on the missing text between Page and Strzok, then you're not asking the questions. What about the text of Andrew McCabe, of Comey?
How about the fact that Strzok and Page were having sex? Therefore, they can't have a top secret security clearance. It's a violation. They can actually go to jail and be fined for that. Same thing with McCabe if he knew about it. Of course he knew about it. He was having secret liaisons, top secret espionage liaisons. Why didn't they want him near the mid-year exam investigation of the emails? Because he was 100% compromised and they told him to keep his nose out. Andrew McCabe, it has been reported by FBI agents that he was like a bulldog. Anytime anyone was investigating anything Russia, which he had no clearance to see, he forced his way into the meeting, demanded the information, and was there to cover up any Russian connections for Hillary. He was there to cover up Hillary's foundation connections because he was part of that investigation. He was there to cover up his own wife's, Jill McCabe's, money that was given to her by Hillary. He was there to cover up Peter McAuliffe's illegal activities with the Clinton Foundation and him being part of receiving $145 million for Uranium One. Andrew McCabe covered all that up. Don't get me started. There's 100 other crimes he committed.
Let's just say he is the Benedict Arnold of our time.
And you don't believe them when they say they didn't have access. Andrew McCabe had access to the counterintelligence operation 100%. He was part of it. Strzok was the guy they used who was the fall guy. We told you this from the beginning. The second in charge of the FBI counterintelligence unit will go down. He is doing the crimes. That is Peter Strzok. We told you this before we even knew his name. Why? That's just the way it operates. And later, he'll be exonerated and he'll get his own show on CNN.
Okay. All right, now we're going to move to some tweets that look at borders and migration and, I should say, alien invasions. All right. Crime in Germany is up 10% plus. Officials do not want to report these crimes since migrants were accepted. Other countries are even worse. Be smart, America.
Now, you might say, why did he quote such a small number when in Sweden it's up 415%? In other nations, it's up so far that they don't calculate it. They now calculate it by the month. And so the quote he's giving here is the lies that the Germans tell, that it's only up 10%. They have been covering up so much crime in Germany, it is disgusting. There's no-go zones. There is Sharia law being affected in sections of Germany. In Belgium. Belgium is ready just to go crazy because they've taken over Belgium. France has said the same thing. Britain is about the only one holding on with their preaching of their nonsense, their worship of refugees who are stabbing them, throwing acid on their face, running them over, killing them, raping their children, and yet they worship in the courts. They literally worship. They are the refugees. They're not refugees. They're invaders. And in many cases, they were murderous criminals before they came into Europe or into America. It's happening in America. MS-13, perfect example. What you have in Europe is just MS-13 without the tattoos. So he is quoting a very small thing. He's just warning us. It's happening here.
Why drop a bomb on a country when they'll just self-destruct with this kind of attitude?
Well, they are self-destructing, and they know that they'll be destroyed in 5 years. Europe will no longer exist in 5 years, according to the European Union's recent vote. So what we have here is it looks a little different with our southern border. But remember, Hezbollah is sending people up. ISIS is getting a foothold in South America, and they're heading on up here. So once, and I want to make this clear, what is happening at the border is up 400% each month since October. In how many children are being taken, ripped off, kidnapped and used as a ploy to get into America. The Democrats broadcasted that, and now they're broadcasting it big time. So you bet every child that can be kidnapped in Mexico is being kidnapped, and they're being brought to the border by people who aren't Mexicans claiming they're their children. And when you look at the statistics, Trump points out here, and we'll get to that in a minute, of the 12,000 children, only 2,000 of them were with their parents, and that was just in 1 month. And the numbers he's quoting here are a little bit old. The numbers are up times 4. And the numbers of the ones that are with actual parents are down.
Well, that gets to the next tweet. If you don't have borders, you don't have a country, and that is the plan of the globalists. They don't want America to be a sovereign nation, and this is why we have an invasion on our southern border.
And we have an attack against the presidential duty. It is his duty to protect us. They won't let him protect us.
Who's the they?
Congress and the Senate and congressmen.
And it's Republicans and Democrats.
Both. And he had to send the National Guard there, and he had to create a state of emergency so we could simply defend our borders. That's insanity. No borders, no country, period. And Europe is finding this out. We've named the 8 or so countries that are basically building walls as fast as you can speak. And who is it that's built the wall in the Americas? That would be Mexico on their southern border. But they don't want us to build a wall on their northern border.
Democrats are the problem. They don't care about crime and want illegal immigrants, no matter how bad they may be, to pour into and infest our country, like MS-13. They can't win on their terrible policies, so they view them as potential voters. And of course, that's always been what we've said for a long time, is that it is the Democrat Party voter recruitment program.
That's exactly what it is. MS-13 votes the straight Democratic ticket.
Well, MS-13...
Oh, that's right. They're not supposed to be voting.
MS-13 is there to disrupt our communities.
Oh, complete social disorder.
Yes, and destabilization. It's a ploy that Saul Alinsky advocated, and we're seeing it being played out right here, right now. And they don't cross the border, as you were pointing out in yesterday's audio. They're just flown in and dropped into communities.
Yes, and given money. So if an MS-13 member from Honduras or El Salvador can get to the border, during Obama's time, they had automatic asylum and they were treated like kings. And they were sent to some of the most affluent communities to destroy them. The children who Obama took on the border, he separated them from their parents in every single case, because in every single case, nobody has any documentation. That's why they're undocumented. But in every case, as Trump says here, we must always arrest people coming into our country illegally. Hello, he's saying we must follow the law. Obama broke every law there was, just like the Pope is breaking every law, every dogma of the Catholic Church. It is a time of untruthfulness. It is a time of falsehood politics. Obama did these things. Obama separated the children from the parent, except in these cases. Bush made those laws. He enforced them. Why? And Clinton enforced, who made the laws? Anyway, they've been in existence for years and years and years, and they were passed by a Democratic Congress. So what happened is those laws weren't being enforced, or they were being enforced by sometimes the Republican and not by the Democrats, but not by Obama. So Obama said, I'm not going to let you separate children from parents. Anyone who can come to the border with a child, they get in. They got an anchor child, and we call that catch and release, and we don't document them. We count them, but we don't take their name. We get no documents. We get no birth certificates. We get nothing. But because they're with a child and they stepped foot in our country, they're like an anchor child.
Well,
baby.
It's just, bottom line, it's an invasion.
It's an invasion.
And it's invasion, and that's all it is. And the Democrats and many Republicans are supporting an invasion of the United States of America with these policies. Now, the next tweet we've already talked about a bit. You mentioned we must always arrest people coming into our country illegally. Of the 12,000 children, 10,000 are being sent by their parents on a very dangerous trip, and only 2,000 are with their parents, many of whom have tried to enter our country illegally on numerous occasions.
This is what's really happening, and he is implying here. The drug cartels get these caravans of people coming in Mexico. They steal the children, sell them to other people so they can use them to get into our country, okay? And then they kill people, mass graves. We are founding, every week? Mass graves, right? Who do you think those mass graves are? Those are people who have been taken advantage of. If you are someone in South America, Central America, or Mexico, and you want to come across Mexico to get across the American border, the chances are you're going to die. That's why they come in caravans. That's why MS-13 came as a gang. You see, if you come by yourself, you're going to be taken advantage of because you have some money. You have some money to pay to get into this country because that's what you have to do. This is a criminal activity at our border that is being supported by Democrats. And if those people live, and if those children have not been then human trafficked, because when they get across the border, what do you think happens to those children? They are sold. They were bought to get into the country, kidnapped. They lie at the border. Obama catch and release causes them to get in this country. They then sell those children. Okay, that's what's going on. That's human trafficking. That's what Trump is fighting, and that's what the Democrats are supporting. And all these Hollywood people freaking out. And Laura Bush, you
Laura
absolute
Bush,
hypocrite.
It's her husband that put many of these
believe he's the
immigration laws in place.
It was his law
Yes.
for separating all children from parents until there was proof of consanguinity. That means that they were their own children. And you find out if that person is a criminal and wanted in the other country, that means you must put that adult in jail because they committed a crime. It doesn't matter they're with the child. They subjected that child to a felony crime, and in many cases they are felons themselves, and or they're doing this thing that I'm telling you they're doing. This is human trafficking for the sake of fake catch and release, which was created as a loophole on our border with Homeland Security by Barack Obama. This is another DACA scandal. He lied and said there's 800 DACA people, 800,000. 800,000 have stolen Social Security numbers and work and pay taxes and get tax returns and get all the benefits. But they have children and they have parents. 2.5 million DACA anchor babies. Think this through, folks. DACA are adult anchor babies. They're older anchor babies.
They grow every year and they age every year, so they'll soon be young adults, all of them.
So their parents were the criminals. The DACAs were brought here, but they weren't small enough. They weren't born here, so they're not anchor babies, but they have anchor babies. Now they get to stay because they had anchor babies. Is anyone realizing that Trump has to think this through? The others aren't. The Democrats and the Republicans are a bunch of stupid people, just as he said before he came to Washington. Think this through, folks. If you give any amnesty to DACA, you're going to have lawsuits from now until the end of time for all of their anchor babies, for all of the chain migration, for all of their families that made across the border and now are consanguinity for anchor babies. And then you have the DACA parents. That's, I forget how many, 1.8, I think they're calling that, but we have proven it's more like 2.2.
So then for Obama's sake, then mission accomplished. The invasion has already occurred. Can we walk this back?
Obama was trying to give amnesty, though he couldn't, by deregulating stupid laws where he interpreted that he had the right to tell the people in immigration, homeland security, border security, that he had the right to change regulations and tell them to basically break the law. And it became so institutionalized in 8 years that people like to play like that's what's supposed to be going on. No, the law is very, very clear. You cross the border, you are a criminal unless you have papers to show why you're here. And otherwise, every other person who applies to become an American citizen the proper way, through proper immigration, is insulted and is basically defiled. And in every way, there's a constitutional crisis because the Congress will not do its duty, and they will not allow the president to do his duty. And there is a war, and that war is for undocumented aliens. And I'm telling you, they vote Democratic when they vote. They're in Democratic states. They get licenses. There's a 5-hour wait in California to get a license because so many undocumented people become documented the second they get a California license. Did anyone know that? And then you can apply for a Social Security number in California. And then you can get somebody's some dead person's Social Security number, and you're as good as a citizen. You can get tax returns. You can get medical benefits. You can get everything. And if you're not, and you come across and you're pregnant, it can cost millions of dollars because those people coming across just went through hell, those pregnant women, and they had no prenatal care. How do you think the bill turns out when they get free medical care?
For their lives, because they'll be dependents upon the system for all time. Uneducated, poor health.
Jerry Brown's California almost went bankrupt by the medical bills of women who undocumented aliens going to emergency rooms to have babies. Okay? That almost broke California some years ago. Now they've, through Obama, they folded it in so us taxpayers pay even more. And so the state doesn't pay. The whole rest of the country pays. This is why California should be separate, and we shouldn't give them a dime.
I agree.
I think
I'm almost
they wouldn't
ready.
last 1 year.
Let's build a wall between the
There you
rest of the
go.
United States and California, since it won't uphold the laws of the United States.
And make sure that that Hollywood is considered a foreign
Right.
nation that is in fact hostile towards us.
Right. And all the patriot Californians can move north. All right. Now, our other one is hashtag change the laws. Now is the best opportunity ever for Congress to change the ridiculous and obsolete laws on immigration. Get it done. Always keeping in mind that we must have strong border security.
Now, this is for the election. Pushing it back on the Democrats, because the Democrats are really the ones who say, amnesty to everybody, open borders, 22 million undocumented illegals that are in America. God bless you. You're all full citizens now. No path to citizen you have to go on. Matter of fact, you can be, in fact, refugees from Syria who are, in fact, ISIS fighters, and you become full citizens. That's what the Dems want. And if you read the new laws, both of Paul Ryan, Republican in name only, who they should kick out today, his two proposals basically are giving amnesty, and they don't take into consideration the four pillars of Trump's immigration plan, which must be there or else he's not signing it. So they're just stupid. This is for flagging more people. This is begging. We document, mind this, we document 1 million illegals and release them on the border every year, and that doesn't count the children, because children are not in any of these numbers. 400,000 children last year. Parents sent them up here. They could have died on the way. Certainly many of them were kidnapped and manipulated and then human trafficked after that. And yet, you know what that means? They want 4 times that now. The Democrats, and what they're doing is causing 4 times the amount of people to come across the border because they need more votes, because their rigged presidential election last time was short some votes. And they've already found out by looking at 7 states there was 3.5 million false votes. And these are the ones that are documented false votes using driver's license of undocumented aliens committing crimes by stealing Social Security numbers. All they had to do was cross-reference systems, and they proved this in 7 states, between 3.5 million and 5.5 million. Fake votes, almost all Democrats. They want these people in this country, MS-13, Hezbollah, Hamas, it doesn't matter.
To destroy
anybody pregnant.
America.
To destroy America.
Democrats want to destroy America. Last tweet for us today. Join me tomorrow in Duluth, Minnesota for a MAGA rally, and then it gives you information for tickets. And, you know, these are turning out to be like big rock concerts. They look fun, they look energizing, and probably the only way that Trump can get his positive message out to the people, since fake news isn't helping to even describe in the least what's actually going on.
His rallies and his tweets are winning. They're making the Democrats look like idiots. So far, I mean, I've been tracking it. I think the Republicans have only lost like 2 twice. And people have come from behind. They come from nowhere. They're like, hey, this is the last day I can apply. Well, you know, I'm into MAGA. I'm going to apply, and then they win. Nobody even knew who they were. And MAGA, okay, I used to live in Hawaii, and you've been in Hawaii. So the flow of magma is like a half mile wide and miles long. We've never seen anything like this in American history. And nothing can stand in its way. It vaporizes the homes it touches. You can throw metal on it, and metal will turn into a gas right in front of your eyes. So when we say MAGA, I want you to think magma. And we are just rolling over that blue wave. So this red tsunami is a red tsunami of magma, just wiping out the stupidity that Trump went to Washington, D.C. to fight in the swamp.